I made that? Are you sure? I'm a bad YouTuber for that. Sometimes I amaze myself, and then sometimes I make dumb mistakes like this. Hello and welcome to the Faded Wildflower Crochet. My name is Rachel, and it is time once again to do a video going through my entire work in progress pile, my whip pile, if you will, and deciding whether I'm going to frog them, finish them, or fix them. Let's get started because there's quite a few of them. Okay, so the first one here is a sweater. As you can see, I made this in the Loops and Threads Heathered Tweed, which was a recommendation from one of you guys when I did the video of, I was about to say expired yarns, discontinued yarns from Loops and Threads. I asked if anyone knew a yarn similar to the Loops and Threads plush, and some people told me that the Loops and Threads Heathered Tweed is basically just a rebranded version of that, and you guys are correct. So I have this sweater almost done. I already have the bottom ribbing done. I do just have to finish the sleeves. I started on this one, have to finish the other sleeve, and then I have to add in the neckline, and then this sweater will be done. But I am excited to get this done because we are finally moving into some cooler weather, at least in the mornings. So I might finally be able to get some wear out of this. But anyway, we'll get to that. That's definitely going in the finish pile. So next up, we have this cardigan right here, which I made a whole video making this cardigan. And I made it in the Dollar Tree cotton yarn, which a lot of you told me in the comments, whatever you do, do not put that cardigan in the dryer. And what did I do? I put this cardigan in the dryer. I did not intend for that to happen, but I did wear this on vacation. And it got put in with all of the vacation clothes, which just got washed and dried. And actually, my husband is the one in my household that's in charge of laundry. And I just forgot to warn him to leave this one out. So I'm hoping that I can just re-wet this and then reshape it and it will be fixed. I don't know. I'm hoping that that's going to work because it did just shrink up quite a bit in the dryer. So I'm hoping that that's going to work. And I know this is more of a summer piece and we are moving into fall, but I figure we'll go ahead and fix it in this video and it'll be ready for me once spring and summer come around again. Next up we have, I think, what is my only non-sweater or cardigan work in progress in this video, which is this blanket, which is a baby blanket for my newest nephew who is going to be here in December, but I actually just got a text saying that we're having a baby shower for him in a few weeks. And so I really need to get this done. I did make this in the mandala, whatever this is called, gradient. I got 3 skeins of these and this is the 3rd one. So I am going to finish that up and then I'll probably end up putting a border on it, but we will get to that. That's definitely going in the finish pile. Then we have this one, which is definitely going to end up in the frog pile. So this is a hexagon cardigan, but I had seen somebody on Reddit, I believe, working on a hexagon cardigan, but instead of granny hexagons, they were just all double crochets, and I thought that it looked really good. And so I just decided to work on one with some scrap yarn, and I do think that it looks good, but I definitely did not set myself up for success with this one because I started with 4 rows and I was going to do 4 rows of each color, but I forgot how much bigger it gets, and I was definitely going to end up not having enough of this blue color for the second side. And I don't know, I also just kind of lost motivation for it. And so I'm definitely going to frog this. I definitely want to work on this again sometime, make a hexagon cardigan that's not the granny clusters, that's just all double crochet, but that will have to be for another time. Then we have this guy, which I have a video of me making this. It was from a clothing crochet kit from Hirschner's. And I originally had this in this video. I think it's inside out. I originally had it in this video because I was going to frog it. However, I don't think I'm going to do that because if you watch this video, you will know that I didn't really like this yarn very much. And then in another video, I ended up doubling up the yarn and I liked it that way. So really the only way that I would use this yarn would be doubled up. And so if I frog this, it's not going to really go as far if I'm using it doubled up, if that makes sense. And so since like all the ends are woven in and everything, I think I'm just going to donate this. I think somebody else will get more use out of this. I just ended up not really liking the colors. I just don't think they suit me. And so I am going to just throw this in the donation pile. So there you go. So the last project in today's video is going to be this sweater worked in the anniversary cakes, which I talked about in the video where I reviewed this, but I was working on this and it is just a nice little moss stitch sweater here. And there was a factory knot, and when the factory knot was there, it ended up making this stripe pattern backwards. So I'm now having to work from the outside of the skein, and let me show you the state of this skein. So this is the state of this skein at the moment. It is a whole mess. I think I'm probably gonna have to at some point end up working this into a neater cake or a ball or something. I don't really know what to do with it. I think I may try to finish the first panel of this and then we'll worry about that. We'll get to all of that later, but I am going to finish the sweater in today's video. There is a fly buzzing around. Go away. So that is all of the projects, and I have to decide what to work on first, but I think that I really want to work on this sweater today. I really want to get this done. I am working on these sleeves here, and I am doing a bit of tapering on the sleeves. It is just made raglan style, as you can see. So I think that I really want to try and finish this up, maybe even today. So I'm gonna go start working on this. Okay, you guys, my sweater is done and I am so happy with how this turned out. I have been crocheting for almost 16 years at this point, and sometimes still I'll look at something that I made and I'm like, I made that? Are you sure? You're telling me I took this and I made this? It feels like magic sometimes. I don't know what to tell you. I feel like this is definitely the most tame garment I've made thus far on my garment making journey. I tend to go for more bright and rainbow colors. And this one, just looking at it like this, looks to just be blue and white. But actually, if you look up close, which I don't know if the camera is going to pick this up at all, but the halo on this yarn actually is, first of all, a little bit shimmery. And second of all, has different colors throughout. I feel like the camera is not picking it up. I will do a shot at the end outside, as I usually do in these videos, so hopefully you'll get a better look at it then. But overall, it is still a little bit more on the tame side for me at least, but I do feel like I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of this. I love the way it fits. I have not blocked this. I have not washed this, nothing. This is fresh off the hooks. I just finished this last night. And I really like the way it fits. I don't know if I'm going to end up blocking it. And sometimes with yarns like this, I have a difficult time knowing how I would block it because it is a combination of, I think it's acrylic, polyester, and also wool. So I don't know exactly how I would block this even if I did, but I love the way it fits just like this. Speaking of the fact that this has wool in it, you can tell just a little bit. I know this isn't a yarn review, but I can't help myself by talking about this yarn a little bit. It does have, I think it's 8% wool in it, and you can tell, but it's not enough that it's like itching me or super irritating me or anything. Working with it, it didn't bother me at all. But now that I have this on, the only place that's a little bit irritated is like the inside of my elbow crease. Does anybody else have that get irritated? It's like a very sensitive part of the skin for me for some reason, but it's overall not bothering me at all. But if you are super, super sensitive to wool, just know that you can tell. I didn't think you would even really be able to tell that this had wool in it since it's only 8%, but you can definitely tell that there's wool in this. So I overall do really like this yarn. However, it is not exactly the easiest to work with, not the hardest either, but it does snag. That is the main thing about it, which I knew going in because people were telling me that this was like the plush yarn from the discontinued video that I did, and that yarn snagged on itself as well, and this one does. And the hardest part, of course, is frogging when it comes to yarns that want to snag on itself. I didn't have to do a lot of frogging on this one just because I am pretty familiar with how to make a raglan, which, by the way, to talk about the pattern, I don't use a pattern anymore when it comes to raglans. I did learn from MJ Off the Hook Designs how to make a sweater, but she does hers where she puts the collar in first and then works the yoke. I like to start with the yoke and add in the collar later. That way I can kind of decide how many decreases I want to add, or if I want to add decreases and all of that, just to get that out of the way. But because I'm already pretty familiar with how to do this, it is just all double crochets here. I didn't have to do a lot of frogging on this, but when I was making the ribbing on the bottom, I at first made it, I think, a little bit shorter than I wanted it to. So I did end up having to frog a little bit, and it was not easy. And I know people will tell me in videos that I frog the wrong way. Like I try to pull it up and you're supposed to pull it down. I swear I was trying to pull this every single direction that I could, and it was still very difficult to frog. I had to like pick at it with some scissors at one point. It was not easy, which again, I'm kind of willing to deal with yarns that snag on themselves if I like the texture in the end. I would rather deal with that than deal with splitting, but I know everyone has their own preferences when it comes to yarn. But I think the thing that irritates me the most about this is that in the skein itself, the yarn wants to stick to itself, so it makes it kind of hard to work with. I tried working from the outside of the skein. I tried working from the inside of the skein, and both were pretty bad. I found that the best way to work with this yarn is to cake it up very loosely. Emphasis on the loosely. I haven't caked this one up yet, but I feel like that is the best way to work from it, where you're not having to like really pull it apart as you're working with it. So I did use 2 full skeins of this. This is the 3rd one that I just used a little bit of, and I have a 4th skein that's completely unopened. So I still have quite a bit of this yarn to work with. I'm not sure if I would purchase it again, but I wouldn't rule it out. So I am getting ready to go for a walk. It is so nice outside right now. It's finally starting to feel like fall around here. But after I get back, I think I'm going to work on this blanket for my nephew. It is already getting quite large, but since I have a 3rd skein, I might as well go ahead and use it and make this a big old baby blanket. So that is the plan. I'm gonna go for a walk and then work on this blanket for the rest of the day. Please ignore my no makeup, wet hair appearance. I went for my walk, I took a shower, I was settling in, I was gonna work on this blanket for the rest of the day when I realized that my stitch count is off, and not just a little off, it is quite off. I don't know what happened. Well, I do know what happened. I was working on this in the car, and apparently I just was not paying attention, and it has gradually gotten smaller here at the top. I don't understand. This is a little bit embarrassing, I have to admit. I, again, have been crocheting for 16 years, and sometimes I amaze myself, like with the sweater that I just made, and then sometimes I make dumb mistakes like this. So there you go. So I think that instead of trying to redo this and figure out where my mistake was, I think I'm just going to take this out and start over. I think that this yarn would look really good for a corner to corner blanket, and I have been loving to do corner to corner stuff lately. So I think I'm just going to do that instead. So this is going to end up taking me a lot longer than I expected, but you know, again, I'm only human and I make mistakes, and I hope that this makes you feel a little bit comforted if you've ever messed up on a very simple, I mean, this is not a complicated stitch pattern by any means. It's just a 3-row repeat. I just messed up. So this is giving me the opportunity to start over and work on a corner to corner project because I have been obsessed with that lately. So that's what's going to happen here. Okay, you guys, it is a few days later and I just finished filming the outro to the video where I made this cute little frog, and I figured I would do a little check-in to show you guys that I finished my blanket. It is hard to get it all in the frame, but I do think that it turned out pretty darn cute. Now, does it bother me that the gradient isn't actually perfect and it does have a spot right here where it's darker and it shouldn't be? Yes, it does bother me, but there's really not a ton I can do about that. So what I ended up doing for this is using 2 skeins of this yarn. So I do in fact have a whole other skein. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with that one, but what I did was do increases until I ran out of yarn, and then with the second skein I just did decreases until the end, which I do think that it gives a really cool effect. Again, I really don't like that random dark spot right there, but what are you gonna do? Now, the one thing about this that I'm a little bit iffy on is that the edges are just a little bit wonky. Now, I feel like this is kind of always the case for most types of blankets, and what I do usually is just do a single crochet border all around, and that just kind of evens that out. But I feel like that would kind of ruin the color effect. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I could do a thick border. I thought about doing a thick border all in white and kind of like frame the color changes, but I just really like the way it looks just like this. So I think I'm just going to deal with the wonky edges. They're really not that bad. And I do also kind of wonder if maybe steaming this, like steam blocking this and stretching it just a little will kind of, can you see how it's just like a little bit wavy, and then when I stretch it, it's a little bit more flat? Again, no one's gonna care about this but me. I know that my sister-in-law and brother-in-law who I'm giving this to are not gonna care, and obviously the baby that this is going to belong to is not going to care, so I'm probably just going to gift it just like this. But let me know what you guys do in terms of borders for blankets like this. Like, what would you do if you were me? Would you just leave it as is, or would you add a different color border? I don't know. I think I'm just gonna leave it as is and call it a day. But I did not expect to have to start over on this blanket, but I honestly think it was kind of a blessing in disguise because I think that this looks really, really cool. So that is that, and we are going to move on to the next project. Now, I have a confession to make when it comes to this project, and that is that I actually already started over on it. So I know this video was supposed to be a finish fix frog video, but I mean, I already had to start over on this blanket, and I figured I think I'm just gonna start over on this sweater as well. So here's the thing. There was a lot of reasons. Let me talk you through them. So first of all, I frogged most of this, but I still have a little bit to show you. I do like the way that the moss stitch looks. Can I tell which is the right side? Is there a right and wrong side of moss stitch? I don't actually know, but I love the way it looks. Now, if you have an anniversary cake and you don't know what type of stitch to do with it, I do think a moss stitch visually looks amazing. However, I was having a little bit of a hard time getting the sizing right. I feel like this is a little smaller than I wanted it to be because I was kind of gonna go for an oversized, like really leaning into the chunkiness of this yarn. And I just don't think that this is it when it comes to that, like oversized chunky, like you can really see the texture of it. Again, I think these stripes and the colors look really good in the moss stitch, but I decided to start over also because I just love doing raglan style sweaters. If you guys know, you know, I mean, I already did a raglan style sweater in this video, and I decided to just do that instead. Now, again, I don't think that the colors look quite as nice in the raglan. Let me actually kind of figure this out and put this on. So I actually will leave the video that inspired this down below. I am deviating quite a bit, but the first place I learned how to do a raglan style was from MJ Off the Hook, and this one I just figured since it was like a chunkier one that the way that you would start it would be a little bit different. And so I found a tutorial for how to do a very, very chunky raglan sweater. I don't know that I love the way the colors look as much as I do with the moss stitch. it's a little bit more chaotic in this way, but it almost kind of gives that scrap look that a lot of people are doing where you just do a couple of rows in one color and then you switch it. This kind of gives that effect, except for there's not going to be as many ends as that. So win-win. But I do want to make this kind of the way that the person made it in their tutorial, where it's just the big long sleeves with no cuffs or anything like that. I still am probably going to end up adding in at least somewhat of a neckline because I think I did this a little bit too loose there. But other than that, I'm going to make it pretty similar to the way that one looks, just to lean into that very, very chunky textured look of this yarn. And also, again, I just really enjoy making this. I love, again, the way moss stitch looks. For some reason, I don't love doing it as much. I don't know why. It's just not as fun to me as doing just a nice, easy double crochet moment like this. And again, I think I'm liking it more and more. When I did the very first round, I was like, oh, this might not look good at all. I think the more it's adding on, the better it's going to look. At least I hope. So I'm going to spend the rest of today working on the sweater. It is Friday. And over the weekend, I am going to block that sweater that shrunk in the wash. So I want to just have that sitting because I know it took a little while last time to actually fully dry since it's cotton yarn. So I'm going to do that over the weekend, and I will check in with you guys probably Monday to tell you how far I've gotten on the sweater and to hopefully show you the good results of the reblocked sweater. Okay, you guys, my anniversary cakes sweater is done, and I am so happy with how this came out, even though it is very different than how I thought it was going to be in the beginning. Well, initially I was going to do the moss stitch, and then I switched to this raglan style, and I was initially going to just leave the sleeves really wide and not do cuffs or ribbing or anything. But I just wasn't loving the way that looked. And I've seen other people do the wide sleeves and I think it looks so cute on them. But for some reason, it just doesn't work on me. So I did end up adding just a couple of rounds of decreases. And then I added the cuffs to the end of the sleeve. I have the ribbing here and then the ribbing on the bottom, which you can't see. But of course, I will have a full look at this at the end. But I do really like it. The way that the colors worked up is a little bit funky. It definitely gives that scrappy look, but I actually really like it in the end. It is definitely a little bit more chaotic, as I like to say, than I may have initially expected, but I really like it. I think it works. Now, I really wasn't sure if I was going to like this big, thick, chunky yarn for a sweater because let's be honest, sometimes making things in a chunkier yarn, this is a weight 6, it can be lumpy and bumpy and some might even say frumpy, in which, I don't know, maybe this is some of those things, but I still like it. I think it has a certain charm to it, and it is definitely the first sweater that I've made that's quite oversized that I actually really like, and it is so cozy, and it's also quite warm. I'm literally sweating in the sweater right now. But because I do like this chunky yarn look so much, if you have a comparable option to this yarn in both weight and texture that is a solid color, let me know because I would love to recreate this same style of sweater, but do it in stripes. Wouldn't that be cute? So the other project that is finished is this cardigan right here, which I did block, and it took a good I blocked it on Friday. Today is Tuesday and it is just now fully dry, but it did work. And I realized that I forgot to do a before shot of this to show you just how shrunk it had gotten. So you're just gonna have to take my word for it that it was definitely shrunk and now it fits again. And there's definitely some ends sticking out there. Just ignore that. So I will do a shot of this at the end of the video, but it's gonna look very similar to the video that I initially made this in. It is now the same size that it was before. So not as exciting. I definitely wish I would have done a before shot. I'm a bad YouTuber for that, but that definitely worked. Just re-wetting it, reblocking it. It does just take some time with cotton yarn. So we are down to our last project of the day, which is this failed hexagon cardigan. And I was initially just going to completely frog this, take this out. But then I was thinking, what if instead I make this as a hexagon cardigan for Button, my mushroom guy. He is still rocking his Halloween sweater here, but I think he needs a new look, and I think that this is gonna look great on him. So what if I just frog this back to make it where it will fit him, sew it together, and then it will be a little cardigan for him? Why not? So that is the last project I'm going to do in this video. So let's get to it. First, I'm gonna take this sweater off though, because like I said, I am sweating. Okay, you guys, Button's little sweater is done. Is it not adorable? I think it turned out so cute. I did decide to add the blue border around the sides, and I think that was the perfect touch. It really goes with his eyes. I will definitely have to make myself a version of this sometime in the future. I will just have to set myself up better for success with more yarn, or possibly just starting with less rows than 4. I always forget just how large those hexagons get the more you go along, obviously. So I eventually would love to make myself another one like this with all double crochets, because I really do like the way that it looks. But for now, I think this one looks great on Button. And that is the last project for today's video. I definitely feel a lot better having all these projects done. But before we say goodbye, I have to know, what was your favorite project from today's video? Honestly, that's actually a hard choice at this point. I thought for sure that it was going to be this one hands down. I just really love the way this sweater turned out. And I still think I'm gonna go with this sweater as my favorite, but I really do enjoy the sweater that I made with the anniversary cakes. I love Button's cardigan as well. I also really like the blanket that I made. We made a lot of good things in today's video, and I am feeling great to have all of these whips off my plate. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you were able to get some things done during this video. And as always, I want to know, what were you working on in today's video? Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to come hang out again. You can join my Patreon where I make bonus videos, exclusive patterns. You can get access to the Discord, and thank you again for watching. I'll see you next time.